Some 40,000 years ago, a mammal used a little bit of pigment and a piece of straw to make prints of their hand on a cave's wall. The meaning of those prints we do not know. And yet, we do. We do because we still make them. We make them when we are children. They mean, I can do this. They also mean, I made this. What the handprints mean for the child is that they can touch the world in a way that leaves a trace. They can touch the world in a way that changes it. This ability of transformative touch is what allows us to experience ourselves as fully real. Our hands are the main interface with which our mind is able to go beyond the limits of our body and exist in the outer world. That is, the mind affects the world, and by doing so, it is inscribed into the world. We make a print of the palm of our hand, and this print is nothing like a random mark of paint. It is embedded with meaning. It is embedded with intention. And intention is a unique quality of the mind. That's why when someone shows you a painting they made, they will always experience it as if they are showing you a part of themselves. And I can tell you, as someone who worked as an art teacher, that this is just as true even for those people who just scribble something and throw it away in the garbage the very next moment after they showed it to you. There is a common belief that what makes the human animal special is that it makes tools. Homo faber. Homo, meaning man, and faber, maker, fabricator. It is of course true that even though there are other animals that use tools, the tools of humans are unique in their quality and quantity. But the emphasis given to this part of human activity might cause us to overlook other human behaviors and human activities that are of no lesser significance. A very specific sort of relationship to the world comes out of this notion of Homo faber. Through it, humans are seen to be acting upon the environment in order to change it. They change it so that they can benefit from it. A relationship of gain. Another phenomena which can arise from this formulation of the human as Homo faber is the reduction of other people into tools. In that way, behaviors that we would normally deem inhumane, like the use of human shields, to give a specifically horrific example, fit just fine with the term that we designated in order to distinguish the human being. The notion of Homo faber can be quite persistent. It sits very well with the concept of evolution. Tool making was the most powerful activity through which Homo sapiens ensured their survival. If we look at human life through the lens of evolution, if we reduce our entire understanding of what it is to be alive, to surviving, then the conception of Homo faber makes perfect sense. But to do that, to say that the meaning of living is surviving, is like saying that the meaning of being is existing. It is a logical loop, a tautology. Living in that formulation means surviving, and surviving means living. Now, we do know of people that are purely, completely Homo faber, people for whom everything and everyone is a tool. These people's aim usually expands beyond just surviving. they wish to thrive. Sometimes they are billionaires, and sometimes they are heads of states, sometimes they are CEOs. I even know a few that are mere artists. Their art is simply a tool that helps them propel themselves towards success. But when we come to describe these people, those who made a fortune off the suffering of others, those who sent soldiers to die for political gain, those who fired hundreds of people so that they could make an even greater profit than they already did, we tend to describe them as less rather than more human. So what is uniquely human, if not only the making of elaborate tools? One way of approaching this question is to look for examples where people act in ways that do not benefit them, acts that don't correspond with their survival nor with their thriving. An example of that could be found in ancient graves of disabled people. The fact that graves of disabled adults were discovered, people who obviously needed much support in order to survive and reach adulthood, especially in pre-civilized world, raises questions. The amount of energy that a healthy tribe member had to invest for the sake of keeping their unproductive, disabled fellow tribe member alive would make no sense in terms of an instrumental framework set on ensuring survival. There needs to be a motivation, we suspect, that is altruistic and possibly uniquely human. But this could be contested, for instance, by mentioning that people with disabilities were often thought of throughout history as having special powers, magical powers. So maybe by caring for them, our forefathers believed that they were benefiting themselves, winning magical protection or having access to blessing that they wouldn't have otherwise. This strikes me as a logical explanation that can allow us to stay within the framework of Homo faber. A different example of a human behavior that is not gain-oriented would take us back to cavemen and prints. A surprising fact about those prints is that very many of them lack one or more fingers or parts of fingers. There are different explanations given to that fact, and there is no reason, as far as I know, to think that all of those missing fingers originate in a single cause. It seems likely that different prints have different explanations. Nonetheless, there is an explanation that I find uniquely compelling. It arrived from research done into societies that still, or up until recently still, practiced cutting their own fingers. In those cultures, for example, in the native Crow tribes of Montana, a grieving person would sometimes cut off their finger as an expression of grief. This might be the same practice cavemen had, preserved over generations, with or without significant modifications, or it could have no genealogical relationship to the ancient practice, yet it might illuminate our understanding of those ancient practices nonetheless. In this practice, the so-called Homo faber, the tool-making man, purposefully damages the most precious tool in his possession, his very first tool, the mother of all tools, the hand. So, what could this practice represent? Perhaps it holds some similarity to a common practice in our culture, mainly that of self-cutting by young people, especially women. The self-inflicted cut gives a physical form to what is sometimes deep emotional pain, and at other times the cut evokes emotions, or at least sensations, to overcome a crushing difficulty to feel anything at all. The reasons and complexities involved in this practice are many, and I will ignore them for the sake of our conversation and inquiry into the missing fingers in ancient handprints. Nonetheless, and maybe with some simplification, I would like to claim that self-cutting originates in an experience of a mismatch between mind and world, a subjective experience of pain or unrealness that does not collaborate with the sensory experience of the person. The physical cut is then, paradoxically, a way of healing an existential cut, of closing a gap, the open wound between mind and world. This mismatch between mind and world is, more than the making of tools, a fundamental difference between human and other animals. At least I would like to claim that. This gap is experienced to a different degree under different conditions. A common human experience in which this cut is felt most vividly is loss. Loss is often accompanied by a strong feeling of disbelief. The external world is empty of the loved one. Yet, there is an internal world in which the loved one is still alive. The grieving might come to wonder, how could it be? And same question would arise in front of the most trivial phenomena. How could it be that people are going around their business? How could it be that clocks are still ticking? How could it be that I still breathe? And in this wonder of horror and shock, reality seems to withdraw. It might feel like you need to stretch your arm an inch longer in order to reach anything. But should you even make that effort? Should you cross the bridge from the world within to the world without, just to find that the loved one isn't there anymore? And there isn't much to show for their goneness. The earth spins in difference. Even their goneness is as good as gone. Perhaps it is a similar experience that our ancestors felt in face of loss, that might give us a sense for why they would cut off their fingers. For it is an assault on the main trail through which the mind goes when it wants to meet matter. It is a symbolic severance of the path into the world. It is a physical manifestation of missing something. It is a body, a form given to goneness. It is saying that in the loved one's death, something of the mourner died as well. A way of sending something off with the loved one, thus somehow staying together. Might it be that the making of tools is nothing more than a byproduct of what is unique in the human condition? That is, that we have both a body that yearns downwards towards the earth and a spirit that yearns upwards to the heavens, and between them a gap that we sometimes temporarily overcome by devising a tool. You're still here. That's cool. I hope you enjoyed the video. It's the first one on my channel. Do subscribe, and I'll try and make the next one even better.